Good evening, my fearless friend. I am Megatron. You know me as the leader of the Decepticons, the conqueror of Cybertron, and the eternal nemesis of Optimus Prime. But tonight, let me tell you a story rarely spoken of. A story of how it all began. Before the war, before the hatred, before history dared to brand me a tyrant. I wasn't always what you imagined. Before the name Megatron, I was merely D16, a laborer in the Energon mines, born in the suffocating darkness of the tunnels, far from the grand, gleaming skies of Cybertron. I watched as my kind Cybertronians of the lower caste were treated like disposable cogs in a machine. We toiled endlessly, fueling the Autobot rulers, yet we were never granted a place in their so-called civilization. We had no voice, no hope, no justice, but I refused to accept the fate they had written for us. I dared to ask the forbidden questions. Why were only the primes deemed worthy to rule? Why were we condemned to a life of dust and emptiness? I spoke, and they listened. The workers, the forgotten soldiers, the scientists whose voices had been buried beneath the dogma of the elite. We called ourselves Decepticons, not because we were traitors, but because we refused to swallow the lies that had kept us in chains. Our ideas grew into a movement. We never sought war, only justice. I once stood alongside my brother, Optimus Prime. Back then he was Orion Pax, a scholar who studied history, searching for truth. At first, we fought together. He believed in change through words, while I believed in action. But that small difference became a chasm too vast to cross. The Autobot rulers refused to listen, deaf to our cries, and in their indifference, rage was born. A rage that burned like a dying star over Cybertron. Some say I craved power, but no. All I wanted was for your kind, his kind, their kind, to have the same voice as those who sat upon their golden thrones. Tell me, is that a sin? Everything changed that day, the day we begged for justice and were met with fear, the day our voices were drowned out by the clash of swords and the roar of cannons. The Autobots never wanted to share power. They called us rebels and sent their armies to silence us. Cybertron burned, and our choices were stripped away. If they wanted war, then war was what they would get. Sometimes, I wonder, was this truly the only path? Had I been wrong from the start? If there had been another way, could Optimus and I still be brothers, not enemies? Could Cybertron still stand in its full glory, rather than crumble as a graveyard of endless war? But tonight, I do not seek answers. Tonight, I only ask you to listen, without hatred, without judgment. Because in the darkness, the truth is never black and white, but a blur of colors, seen only by those who dare to look deeper. I am Megatron, ruler of the Decepticons, a name feared, cursed, and immortalized in history as a ruthless conqueror. But tell me, have you ever asked why I chose this path? Why I sought dominion over Cybertron and beyond the stars? Tonight, I will not speak as a warlord, but as one who once dreamed of bringing change. Cybertron was never a perfect world. Long before war leveled at cities, before the skies were littered with debris, there was a system that ruled everything. A hierarchy that separated those who commanded from those who could do nothing but obey. The Autobots called it harmony. I called it slavery. While the primes and the elites sat in their towers, basking in the wealth of energon harvested by laborers deep underground, I saw the suffering they dismissed as insignificant, and I asked myself, if there was power strong enough to shatter this injustice, why shouldn't I wield it? Why should I wait for a change that would never come? I didn't just want to overthrow the system. I wanted to rebuild Cybertron under a rule that was stronger, fairer, absolute. And for that, I had to seize control. Power was never the goal, it was the tool. And, like any tool of great strength, it belongs in the hands of one who knows how to use it. No empire stands without pillars to support it. In this war, I did not walk alone. I built an army from those who were rejected, oppressed, and cast aside. They called us monsters, but we were warriors. Among the ranks of the Decepticons, there was Starscream, the traitor who forever schemed to claim my throne. And yet, I let him live, because his ambition kept him useful. Soundwave, the eyes and ears of my army, his loyalty is unmatched, his mind as sharp as the unseen shadows he commands. Shockwave cold, emotionless, a scientist whose logic knows no moral bounds, but that is what makes him valuable. They did not follow me because of empty promises. They followed me because I showed them a path the system never would. Under the banner of the Decepticons, every warrior earns their place, not by birthright, but by strength and intellect. Our hierarchy is not built on lineage or inheritance, like the primes who sit upon their thrones simply because of who they were born to be. No, our hierarchy is built on power, courage, and the will to claim what is rightfully ours. They say I rule through fear, but is fear truly a weakness? Is fear not the very force that upholds order, that keeps the weak from tearing apart the foundations of power? I do not offer sweet promises. I do not whisper of peace. I offer certainty. I offer a path to those who dare to claim greatness. My followers do not come to me out of force. They come because they see something in me that they could never find elsewhere. The courage to seize our destiny. A leader must be more than just strong. He must be a symbol, a beacon in the storm, a voice that drowns out the doubt festering in the hearts of his warriors. That is why I have never fallen, no matter how many times the Autobots sabotage my plans. No matter how violently the universe resists my will, I stand unbroken. Because true power does not come from strength alone, but from unwavering conviction. Many say that I am an enemy to be defeated, a threat to be erased, but they fail to grasp the deeper truth. I am not just a ruler. I am a reflection of what Cybertron refuses to acknowledge, the reality that true power cannot be ignored. You may see me as a tyrant, but I see myself as the embodiment of a desire long buried in the hearts of the oppressed. Tonight, before you drift into sleep, ask yourself just one thing. If the world denies you a place, will you remain silent, or will you carve your own, even if it means defying the universe itself? I, Megatron, and this fate is not yet written. Tonight, I want you to hear a deeper story, a story of war that is not only fought on the battlefield, but in the shadows of alliances, strategies, and betrayals that paved my path to glory. In war, no enemy is eternal, and no ally is forever loyal. I have stood before countless leaders, shaken hands with those who would later betray me, but does that matter? As long as the deal serves my interests, I care nothing for their morality. There were the Quintessons, ancient beings who once claimed to be the creators of Cybertron. They came with offers of power, weapons beyond compare, and ancient secrets that could turn the tide of war. But I knew they were not allies, only parasites looking to exploit this conflict for their own gain. So I played their game until I no longer needed them. Starscream often questioned my decision to work with alien races, claiming that the Decepticons should bow to no one. I ignored his whining. If an alliance with the Nebulons or even Scorponok gave us an advantage, then I would take it, without hesitation. Battle is not merely a contest of strength. It is an art, a calculation, a game played across multiple layers, through the skies, across the land, and within the minds of those who dare to challenge me. You have heard of the great battles on Cybertron, where I led the Decepticons at the height of our power, driving the Autobots to the very edge of defeat. We dominated the battlefield, crushed them under our might. And yet, no matter how close I came to ultimate victory, there was always one obstacle in my path. Optimus Prime. At the Battle of Sherman Dam, I believed I had won it all. I had seized an energy source that could have granted me absolute superiority, but Optimus, with his infuriating persistence, always found a way to turn the tide. That is the true strength of the Autobots, not in their weapons, not in their technology, but in a resolve so unbreakable that even I struggled to crush it. And then there was the war against Unicron. When that monstrous being threatened to devour Cybertron itself, even I had to make a choice I never thought possible. I, Megatron, who bows to no one, was forced to decide: fight alone and be destroyed, or swallow my pride and stand beside Optimus Prime to save the very world I once sought to rule. You already know the choice I made, and that night I came to a realization. Even in the face of ambition, there are wars far greater than any of us could ever imagine. No empire endures without betrayal, and the Decepticons are no exception. Even within my own ranks, there are always those waiting for the right moment to seize my throne. Starscream, with his insatiable ego, has tried countless times to overthrow me. But, as I have always said, ambition without power is nothing but an empty dream. Many of my own followers have fallen not by Autobot hands, but by their own treachery. Shockwave, with his cold intellect, is sometimes more loyal to logic than to my command. Soundwave, though unwavering in his devotion, holds secrets I choose not to uncover. And Devastator, for all his raw power, is sometimes more of a danger to my own forces than to the enemy. This is what separates me from Optimus. He leads through trust. I lead through strength. I know that one day, even the most formidable army can be undone by individual ambition. But does that mean I was wrong? Or is this simply the price of true power? You may ask, do I regret my path? Do I wish I had chosen another way? No. A warrior, a leader, does not live in regret. I made my choices, and I will see them through to the end. Power is the only universal language. Those who lack it will fall. Those who wield it will endure. And though this war rages on, though history may forever paint me as the villain, I know one thing with absolute certainty. The Autobots call us destroyers. They call this war a tragedy born of my greed. But look deeper, beyond the ruins of Cybertron. The Decepticons are not mere agents of destruction. We are the spark of revolution. Without us, Cybertron would still be ruled by the Primes, who cling to their bloodline instead of recognizing true strength. Without us, the laborers, the soldiers, the forgotten scientists would remain voiceless, buried beneath the weight of a system that never saw them as worthy. We forced the universe to face the truth it had long ignored. And as time passes, our influence endures. Look beyond Cybertron. Among the distant stars, you will find our legacy. Warriors who refuse to kneel. Civilizations that have learned that power does not belong solely to those who claim it by birthright. We did not bring only destruction. We brought awakening. But every war has its price. Cybertron, once gleaming like pure metal, now stands as a shadow of its former glory. The grand cities that once touched the sky are now nothing but ruins. The heavens that once shone bright are now haunted by ash and darkness. Is this my fault? Perhaps. Do I regret it? No. Cybertron had to burn so it could be rebuilt. A new world cannot be born without destroying the old order. I sacrificed everything for that cause. But those who blame me, do they have the same courage to change the world? The Autobots speak of peace, but peace without justice is nothing more than a prison without bars. They weep for the destruction, yet they fail to see the injustice that had already set Cybertron ablaze from within. This is not just a war of weapons. This is a war of ideologies, and the scars we left upon Cybertron are merely reflections of the wounds that festered long before the first shot was ever fired. You may ask, is there a way back? Can the Decepticons be redeemed? Can I, Megatron, find an ending different from the path I have walked? There is no simple answer to that question. There have been moments of doubt, times when I have looked into the eyes of my warriors, those who fight and die for my vision, and wondered, are they truly fighting for freedom, or merely for my ambition? Do they still see me as their leader, or as a warlord who has lost his purpose? There were moments when I almost let it all go, but then I look at this world and I remember why I fought in the first place. Not all Decepticons are monsters. Some still seek hope, still wish to build something greater than just ruin and war. But will this world ever give us that chance? The Autobots speak of forgiveness, but will they ever truly grant it? I don't know. Maybe one day, a Decepticon will find a path to something greater than war. But that Decepticon is not me. I have made my choice, and I will see it through to the end. You may hate me, you may call me a tyrant, but never make the mistake of thinking I had no purpose. One day, when Cybertron has changed, when a new world has risen from the ashes, they will look back and realize without Megatron, without the Decepticons, they would have never reached that future. You may see our legacy as destruction. I see it as a stepping stone to what comes next. Because history is not only written by those who win, but by those who have the courage to challenge the old order. I am Megatron, a legacy that will never be erased. Tonight, I speak to you not as a warrior, not as the leader of the Decepticons, but as a shadow of the future yet to come. What remains for the Decepticons? Will this war rage on forever, or will we carve out a new destiny among the stars? Some say the Decepticons are finished, that my army is shattered, my power extinguished, and that the Autobots have won. They are wrong. The Decepticons never die. We wait. You may see defeat, but I see a strategy. You may see destruction, but I see opportunity. The Autobots believe in harmony, but harmony only lasts as long as everyone agrees to kneel. When their leaders falter, when dissatisfaction rises once more, when civilization inevitably falls into the same cycle of injustice that birthed this war, the Decepticons will rise again. Will I be the one to lead them? Perhaps not. But somewhere, on Cybertron, or in some distant world, there is a young Decepticon waiting for the moment to take control, to finish what I started. Because as long as there are those who are oppressed, as long as there are those cast aside by the system, as long as there are those denied their place in this universe, there will always be Decepticons. As you close your eyes tonight, as the stars burn in the distance, remember, this world is not simply black and white. There are no true heroes, no absolute villains. There are only those who choose their own path. I am Megatron, and this is my legacy. And among the stars, this story is far from over. But before we part ways, I invite you to become a part of this journey. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss the stories to come. Together, we will traverse the multiverse, uncover truths, and keep the spirit of the fight alive. I am Megatron, and I will stand with you in every step of this path. Until we meet again in the next universe, good night, my good friend.